you're staying up at night and you're watching Greek channel, aren't you? Okay.
Well, I know that all of the
on.
stones in Greece are important, right? So I hope the ones that the anarchists are throwing at the police are not the important stones. But to be perfectly honest, I mean, this is a story which is very colorful and everybody kind of is very obsessed with it at the moment. But I think it's totally misplaced. People think this is the reason why the market isn't doing well. I think it's got more to do with, political anxieties in the US. And I think people need to be looking at the earnings stories. I mean, what I loved yesterday and overnight, which I think is driving the market higher in New York today with the Nike results. It's not the biggest American company. It's only about $50 billion. But fantastic results, great growth globally, good growth in the US. Who thought that this is the retail sector which is totally washed out? And that earnings growth is what we're looking for, and that's what people should be focusing on.
But that's fascinating, Paul, because if you look at what we've been seeing on the consumer side of things, we've seen negative numbers, and then you've got a company such as Nike doing quite well and showing growth in the US. So you've got pockets of strength, and then you have pockets of weakness. So how do you extrapolate the right news at the right time so that you do plan in terms of investment strategy going forward?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question because Nike wasn't always doing well. I mean, the last quarterly results from Nike were actually disappointing. And clearly profits are one thing and consumer sales are another. Companies tend to be doing better than people think in this environment because they used the crisis to reduce their costs quite significantly. And we know that not everybody out there is doing well. In fact, many people all over the show are not doing well at all. But it's a question of where the slightly richer people are or those with spending power are applying it. So, investments are one thing, the economy is another, and, whether you feel economically well off is another thing again.
How are you feeling, Paul? Are you feeling economically
Full
well off?
marks on all three.
Is that the piggy? Can you hear that? Because of the pig countries.
Now listen, speaking this show, tonight my guest is Aki Anastasiou, so I hope you don't take it badly, but I've recruited another person of Greek extract to give me some local
Greek extract, is that what we call it
Well,
nowadays?
I think it is. I don't know where Aki comes from exactly.
He actually comes from the same village, and not village, the same island, Limnos.
What? You're killing me.
Yes.
Okay,
indeed.
well then,
all the great brains.
I hope he says the same thing that you say.
Okay, well, we've also got Cosatu Congress.
Yeah, I think it's a
underway.
great story. I don't know if everybody's been watching it, but the economic policy arena with South Africa suddenly got vastly more interesting because we know we had the Youth League Congress last week. Now we've got the Cosatu Congress where there's been a big pushback from some of the other big power players in the ANC over the issue of economic policy. And I think it's going to get very interesting. It just creates a more noisy, dynamic environment. Of course, a lot of people are anxious. There hasn't been all that much leadership from the presidency on the issue. But, this is South Africa. We live in interesting times. We know that there are major problems with our society, so it would be, for me anyway, remiss if we were not debating economic policy in a noisy fashion.
What about the information secrecy bill? Does that concern you at all? Have you heard any news on that?
Yeah, look, it does a bit, because we know that South Africa has a history of this kind of repressive anti-media type stuff, and you wouldn't want to see that at all. So generally, I'm in favor of these things. But again, I'm not expecting this thing to go full distance.
Do you think the bill would affect your show? And the use of your little animals?
It should have horns. What is this? A cow instead of a bull. I need to get serious with my production here.
Absolutely.
Really.
Okay, so joke of the day, Paul. What's on tap?
The idea behind Mad Markets, where does the name Mad Markets come from? The joke about how madness is hereditary. In your case, you've caught it from your parents, but for most people, you catch it from your children. That's the idea.